Imagine waking up in Britain over 1,000 years ago, no electricity, no toothpaste, and definitely no Wi-Fi. The air smells like smoke, wet earth, and sheep. Lots of sheep. You crawl out of your thatched hut, which is basically mud, straw, and hope, and your first thought isn't, "What's for breakfast?" It's, "Has anyone stolen my goat?" Because in Dark Age Britain, that was a real possibility, and your goat was basically your life savings. Hey everyone, tonight we're diving into what life was really like during Britain's darkest centuries. Forget knights in shining armor, this was a world of dirt, fear, and the occasional Viking raid for spice. Hit that like button if you think you'd last even a day here, and let's find out. The year is somewhere around 800 AD. Britain is a patchwork of tiny kingdoms, each ruled by a warlord who thinks he's God's gift to humanity because he owns 5 horses and a pile of rusty swords. You're a peasant. Your job? Work from sunrise to sunset growing crops that you don't get to eat. Most of what you harvest goes to your local lord, and if you're lucky, you'll get to keep enough barley to make watery ale and bread hard enough to break your teeth. And that's on a good day. Bathing was optional. Most people didn't wash much, not because they didn't want to, but because the nearest clean water was usually being shared by livestock, and no one wanted to get eaten by wolves while doing laundry. Your hair was greasy, your clothes smelled like smoke, and your body was covered in a fine layer of mud and despair. The good news? Everyone else smelled the same, so at least it was democratic. Now, let's talk health. If you got sick, congratulations, you were probably going to die. Doctors didn't exist in the way we know them today. Instead, you had wise women or monks with herbal remedies that may or may not have been stolen from Roman scrolls. Got a headache? Drink boiled moss. Got the plague? Pray harder. Dentistry. A rock and a scream. If you were lucky, a local healer might rub a toad on it and tell you it was divine intervention. And remember, this wasn't just a time of bad hygiene, it was a time of constant fear. Viking longships could appear at any moment. Imagine sitting by the fire, gnawing on stale bread, and suddenly hearing the horns. That meant run for your life in every language. Villages burned, treasure looted, people enslaved. Dark Age Britain wasn't called dark for nothing. Even when the Vikings weren't raiding, neighboring tribes were. Everyone was someone else's enemy. You either fought or hid, and sometimes both. But don't get the wrong idea, it wasn't all doom and gloom. People still laughed, fell in love, and sang around smoky fires. They told wild stories of dragons, ghosts, and ancient heroes. They believed magic lingered in the woods, that stones had power, and that fate was as real as hunger. The world was harsh, but it was also full of wonder, a kind of raw, terrifying beauty that makes modern life look tame. As night fell, the village would grow quiet except for the crackle of firewood and the sound of someone snoring against a wall. No lights, no hum of electricity, just darkness. Real, heavy darkness. You'd huddle under an animal skin blanket and hope that wolves, raiders, or your neighbor's questionable stew didn't kill you before morning. So, the next time you complain about your Wi-Fi dropping for 5 minutes, remember, in Dark Age Britain, your biggest flex was surviving until breakfast. Humanity back then wasn't thriving, it was enduring. But that endurance, that stubborn spark, is what carried us forward, through mud, blood, and chaos, into the world we know today. So, would you survive a week in Dark Age Britain? Be honest. Drop your answer in the comments, and hit subscribe if you want more brutally honest history dives. Because next time, we're exploring how people actually brushed their teeth in the Middle Ages. Spoiler, they didn't.